when there's an obstacle and you're doing something God calls you to, he always makes a way. And it actually ends up better that you're doing it that way, because he has things you have no idea.
Hey, I'm Chelsea Amber, a Christian recording artist and the founder of Christian Guitar Girls, an encouraging community for female guitar players and bass players who love Jesus. And we are a group of women who are serving our communities through music and working on our guitar skills, all for the glory of God. You can find our Facebook group called the Christian Guitar Girls Community to connect with other women in music and ministry. All ages and skill levels are welcome. We have a great conversation coming up with Lisa Jost. And before we get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to Podbean. This is the platform that I use to host the Christian Guitar Girls podcast. I've been really pleased with their services and definitely highly recommend them if you're thinking about starting a podcast of your own. I especially love the resources that they have on their site to teach you how to start a podcast. So you can visit podbean.com/CGG for a free 30-day trial on any of their unlimited plans, and you'll also be supporting the Christian Guitar Girls ministry when you do that. So without further ado, I want to welcome Lisa Jost to the podcast. Lisa is a singer, a songwriter, a guitar player, a wife to her husband Dale, and mother of 11 children. Yes, you heard that correctly. 11. Lisa was born in Oklahoma and is now based in southern Alberta, Canada, just above Montana. Not only did Lisa homeschool all her children, she also traveled with them from 2007 to 2022 as a family band called the Josties, doing music ministry across North America. Their latest album, Don't Forget About Love, was nominated for Folk Album of the Year by the Gospel Music Association of Canada. You can learn more about her band at josties.com, and you can read encouraging blog posts about motherhood at thenittygrattymama.com. I can't wait to hear more about God's leading and his faithfulness as she pursued this unconventional path. So welcome, Lisa, to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. You've always been such a sweet friend, and I'm always blessed by your motivation and your heart to share your talents with others. And I'm so happy for you and your little family growing.
Oh, yay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I always love to pretend that we are sitting across the table from each other at a coffee shop. So what are you drinking there?
I got my home roasted brew with heavy cream and collagen in a mug that I made.
Nice. Oh, that's a beautiful mug. For those of you who are listening on an audio platform, it is a beautiful brown mug. It says "Sing" on it, and it looks like there's some etchings. You did some etchings on the side there.
Little whimsical print.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I'm a little bit boring today. I've got decaf green tea. I'm trying to limit.
Not boring. It's good for you.
Yeah, I love to have those antioxidants. Yeah, so I would love to dive in. And can you tell us a little bit about when and how you started to play the guitar?
Well, I grew up with an incredibly talented mom who played piano, and I took piano for several years. But when I was 14, I met a guy who was so talented with the classical guitar, and I just really wanted to learn. And he helped me buy a guitar and got me started in that old classic, solo guitar playing, Frederick Unknown. And I worked on scales and everything, but I didn't really, get super great at classical. But one thing that happened is my guitar became like a friend to me, and it became an expression of my soul when I was in anguish or lonely, and I think that relationship is what kept me going all these years, is the fact that it was a voice, a heart with me.
Yeah, I love how music can have kind of a therapeutic effect. I feel like that's just a gift from God, like, hey, you need to work out these these angst feelings of angst or whatever, and it's like God gives us this to help us.
Yeah,
I think about it like with songwriting too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think every person is different. Some people might be more technically inclined with an instrument, and other people are more, it's their heart and soul. And that's kind of where I was at. I wasn't super talented on it, but I just kept on plugging away and loving it.
Yeah, well, and as you gain more experience, then you get more
Yeah,
proficient. Just I feel like that just
yeah,
kind of happens naturally as time goes
yeah,
on, as we're like
yes,
faithful to keep showing up. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
So you started playing guitar, and then you eventually got married. You had a family, and then once you were, I think I read online that once you were done having your family, that's when
Yeah.
you started
Well,
doing
that's
music.
when God started opening the doors. We had sung at a
Mm.
wedding, and uh, this guy was there who actually ends up being sort of family. He came up and said he wanted to record us. And we had done a couple recordings, Dale and I, in the past, but we really prayed about it for a year, and I wrote songs during that year. And once that was published or whatever, then we had friends who started saying, if you come out here, we'll help you plan a tour. And having that CD
Mm.
really helped cement our musicianship in a lot of ways. Basically, it was just Dale and I, and then Emily singing and the kids in the background. Josiah learned the bass for us. Joel learned how to do we bought a sound system, and that's kind of how it went. And then as the kids got older, they would do more. They would pick up instruments, and touring was so good for our family. Like for us, it wasn't
Mm.
the music was prominent. It was more we had a message on our hearts that we wanted to share, and so we'd wrap our songs around that. And it was
Mm.
that desire. It's not like we were fantastic musicians. It was more let's do this because this is a way we can spread encouragement, spread them a message for families and of hope. And then it just, as I had mentioned earlier too, we had been publishing a newsletter to several hundred families called Hearts at Home,
Mm.
trying to encourage them. But that mailing list became a really good starting point for Dale because he was our tour planner. We never had an agent or anything.
Wow.
And he would plan all our tours. And so we'd start going. And of course, the challenges are your kids are little, keeping all their outfits organized. Back then, we were either browns or blacks or greens, and I would sew for the girls. I mean, it was so multifaceted. It wasn't just get up there and sing, hope there's a mic. We
Yeah.
had to learn all the sound system stuff. And when we started, I was just glued to song sheets, on the stand. I
Mm.
had to have all the chords and lyrics the whole time. And eventually over the years, I was just free of all that. And it's like, the more you do music, like they say, every performance is worth 7 rehearsals or practices. And
Mm.
it really cemented the music into us. And our kids just rose to the challenge with talent. And even though we started so simple, and I was just so blessed by their hearts. And when we met you in Nova Scotia at Larry's church, we
Yes,
had
the Halifax
music.
Vineyard.
Yeah, we had done music with Larry in college, and so he was a good
Oh,
friend too.
cool.
But I was so blown away by you. What a talented young woman.
Oh, thank you. I was blown away by you because I love that God opened your eyes to the possibility of doing motherhood and music because I in my younger years I always thought that if once I become a mom I wouldn't be able to do music. And I totally respect people who do
Yeah,
decide to set aside music or any other form of work to do the work in the home because it is a massive job and there are no days off, like
yeah,
so I'm not saying that I don't respect that path. I just knew for myself that I wanted to continue doing
yes,
music, but I didn't know that it would be possible. And I remember seeing you guys come to my church, and I think your littlest one might have had like a ukulele or a
yeah.
little toy guitar or something on
Yeah, the little
stage.
wooden guitar that didn't make noise, but he could play it.
Yeah, I remember that and just thinking, wow, there are possibilities that I never thought of. Like it got me excited because I knew that, if God calls me, if God were to call me to do both, then I could.
Yeah.
um
Oh, you sure could. Yeah. Well, there's so many aspects to doing it as a family. Like there are so many broken families out there. And
mhm.
to see that God used that part of who we were as much as the music, I think, seeing everybody together, working together, all those miles in the van. Like I said, we prayed for a bus all those years, but God kept us the van trapped family singers.
Mm.
And nobody murdered anybody, but I'm telling you, there were definitely challenges. And with sickness and little ones, I can remember putting them beside the stage on a quilt because they had a
Oh.
fever. But they're always troopers. I mean, God
Mm.
was so amazing to us. And I think the big benefit for them, besides being able to really, grow in music, was to see God's hand every day on a tour.
Mm.
We would pray for people after concerts. They would meet people who were so encouraged and they could talk to them. They would see God provide, protect us, take us hundreds of thousands of miles all over, like
Mm.
across Canada 4 times. We've been in every single state in the lower 48. I mean, we have incredible memories. And actually, one of our favorite times was singing at a Marine base on Parris Island in South Carolina to 2,500 young Marines.
Wow.
Some like 19, 20-year-olds who could die within the next 2 years. It was like electric. They were so hungry. It was the most incredible opportunity we've had. And we've been just so blessed. Seeing our kids, like Amy Joy has especially really, really has a talent. And I hope they pursue it. She pursues it for herself. I know she would love to. But even as a family, we have, and having a recording studio, Josiah added that in our home. And Amy was able to learn the engineering and just so many aspects of it that was really growth promoting. And of course, mainly you just need to have a deep relationship with your kids.
Yeah.
That's the most, can't force them to do it. They have to want to. And Dale and I were so blessed by their desires and their heart.
Yeah. My understanding too is that all of your kids are also faithfully following the Lord too,
Yes, yes, they all have such a passion for him. And
wow.
and I know that's God's mercy, not because we were perfect, but God got a hold of their hearts. And I think when kids see prayer answered, it just assures them that God is real and he's faithful. And that was really a fantastic benefit of needing him so much on there. We didn't know where we would stay, what the stage would look like when we got there. I mean, we were a big band. Our first tour, both our married couples went with us. And these little stages, you're trying to fit them all in there and learn. But we just felt his anointing in so many ways.
So with the answered prayer, was there one obstacle that you had to overcome as you pursued that lifestyle that combined motherhood and ministry and travel? Like, was there one thing where?
Well, because we homeschooled, we would tour later in the spring because we didn't bring books on the road because they would just get trashed in the van. And so that was, but I felt like they were learning so many life lessons. We went to so many incredible places and museums and hearing people's stories and testimonies. That was powerful. Hearing people's testimonies, everyone, what God did in their lives. And also being able to discipline when you're public, because I would always want to deal with them privately, never want to humiliate them. But so there were challenges with that and relationships, being in an enclosed van so long. Some of them were trying to do his work on the road. And so those were obstacles but it's like when there's an obstacle and you're doing something God calls you to, he always makes a way. And it actually ends up better that you're doing it that way because he has things you have no idea. And then our kids also started Jostie Flicks, which was kind of worked in tandem with the Josties. People would watch Jostie Flicks, come to a concert and want to watch Jostie Flicks. And humor was really definitely a saving grace for our family.
Oh, I love it. And so for those of our listeners who are unfamiliar with Jostie Flicks, can you just share what that is?
Jostie Flicks is a YouTube channel. It's had well over 3 million views, and it's all wholesome, fun entertainment that the kids, Joel especially, worked to put together, and they're really good. They're still really, really current, really relevant, and people still really enjoy them. And there might be a slight possibility more might happen.
Awesome.
We have 27 grandkids now, and they're all talented and beautiful.
Wow.
And I just love seeing them carry on things in their homes.
Oh, that's so wonderful. 27 grandchildren. What a blessing.
Yeah.
And what a family reunion. That is a party.
And for 3 years we weren't together at Christmas, and this year we were, and it's such a precious gift. My heart bursts, and there's more coming.
Oh, wow.
Jeremiah and
Congratulations.
Christina, yeah.
Oh,
Anniversaries
congratulations.
today. They're doing about 8 weeks, so
Oh, that's
they're
so
first.
wonderful. So, what is one lesson God has taught you throughout your years of ministry as a family?
First of all, one thing we learned is you can't depend on your flesh. Like
Mm,
we would pray before every concert, and so many times we felt completely broken.
mm,
Somebody would blow up or be upset, or we'd be tired or sick. And it's like God in his mercy would remind us that we need him so much. And it's
mm,
not, so then you think, oh, we can't do this. We're so imperfect. But it was more God reminding us that we're doing it for him and his strength. And I remember one incident particular in Oregon. It was the worst pre-concert afternoon that we ever had. I felt like
oh,
walking
no.
away. Everything felt heavy and dark. And I remember Josiah was the one who was so strong and saying, listen, we're doing this and we're going to pray. And so we did, but the opposition was real. And
Mm.
after the concert, we found out that this woman was at the concert who had she hadn't been sentenced yet, but she had had an accident where her kids had flown out of her car window, two little kids, and died. And she was being imprisoned. And we knew nothing about this, but God was speaking to her. And we found this out afterwards. So we came to realize as we matured in the Lord, the hardest times beforehand needed the most prayer
Mm,
because there was greater opposition. But
mm.
those kind of opportunities are just his. You can't force them, you can't fake them. And we were so blind, we didn't know what was going on. But many times things like that would happen. We'd find out what God was doing afterwards and
Wow.
just clinging to him. So I learned, and I hope our kids, we've all learned in Dale, that we don't want to do anything without him, and just to be surrendered to his goodness, because he's looking for people,
Mm,
who can share his light. Before we started touring, Dale had actually been really aggressively praying the prayer of Jabez, that God would enlarge our territory and influence for him. And
mm.
and and God did this. It wasn't like instant wham bam whatever. It was just we sang in little places where they were so hungry
Mm.
for the Lord or music. We sang in big places where you feel so intimidated. That's something I really struggled with. And when I look back on it, I wish I hadn't given it so much time in my head,
Mm.
because God is in it, and God's the one influencing and using music. It's such a powerful tool. It's like people's hearts open up and all this truth can just go in, and it was just
Yeah.
such a privilege. We all loved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is so powerful. And so, as we wrap up, I would love to leave some advice and words of encouragement for our listeners. So, do you have a practical piece of advice for anyone who's just picking up the guitar for the first time?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, be patient with yourself. It hurts to learn the guitar. You know that.
Literally.
Fingers. Yeah, literally. And if you can, find yourself a decent guitar, get the neck adjusted, put new strings, because you can be playing a chord correctly, but if it sounds crummy and blurry, it's so discouraging. And also, I would say keep it simple at first. Even learn a few chords, a song you can sing along with, so that you can feel like it's a part of your voice in worship, as opposed to just you can't do anything with it. I mean, you can learn scales and you can learn all that stuff and the theory on the fretboard. That's all important. But at first, I just kind of make this guitar your friend. And
Mm.
that might seem simple and useless, but it's amazing when you view it that way,
Mhm.
how it affects your heart to play it. And
Mhm.
and
Yeah. Oh,
there's
I
so
love
many
that.
great helps, including your channel, your husband's channel.
Oh,
YouTube
thanks.
has everything. I also found with
Mhm.
our kids, the ones who just started with the self-taught, they're the ones who go the furthest, because
Mm.
they have the drive and the passion. I mean, lessons can help get you started, but beyond that, you really got to have that drive and desire. It's
Yeah.
my little perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. And do you have an encouraging word? What is one encouraging word or piece of advice you can offer someone who wants to release their first song? They're at the beginning of that
First song.
musical
Yeah.
journey.
So are they like still songwriting, or they have it written and they want to release it? if you can find a good place to get it recorded and mixed and mastered, and it's pretty easy these days to release things through CD Baby, and
That's the service I use. Yeah.
yeah, and they make it pretty easy. It's not free, of course, but if
Mhm.
that's a really good way. I mean, that wasn't around when we started, but it
Mm.
is a good handle to get stuff out there recorded. And as a family, if you want to tour it, really, really important, I think, to at least make a CD first, because
Mm.
it gives you focus, it gives you a repertoire, it really helps refine and define your musicianship
Yeah.
and get lots of other people's opinions if you can. And so, I mean, it's you can't just go from step 1 to step 12, but if you just gradually work and pray about everything, if
Yeah.
your motives are right, it's incredible what God, and he works even when our motives aren't right. But
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And how can people find you and your music online?
well, the Josties, we're on every platform through CD Baby, of course, on
Mhm.
the streaming platforms. And yeah, I would love it if you went. Listen, we have 6 albums out there. Our latest one, like you said, is "Don't Forget About Love." And yeah, it's all, if you have a memberships, they're all free.
Yeah. And for our audio listeners, Josties is spelled Josties. So you can
Yes, yes.
look them up, but I will leave links in the description for that so
Yeah,
that
and
people can
YouTube
find you.
has a few music videos. Our latest one is Home, called
Is that the
Home.
one in the field? You're in the
Yes,
field. That is
yeah,
such a beautiful video. I
yeah.
showed my husband that video because I was like, man, like this was so beautifully done. So I really hope people check out your latest
Thank you.
music video.
Yes,
It's
that thanks
so well
to
done.
our talented son Joel, who
Mm.
did all the camera work and editing. He's very gifted. That's his strength. That's his job. We're so
Mhm.
thankful for it.
Yeah, he did a really fantastic job on that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing God's faithfulness in your journey and the
Yes, he's
lessons he
so
taught
good.
you.
Well,
Yeah, and
Chelsea, you're just a radiant woman. I love you. I'm so blessed by you.
oh,
This
thank
was fun to
you.
do with you.
Yay. And yeah, I loved hearing how you combine music and motherhood. As someone who's at the beginning of that journey, it was really
Yeah.
encouraging to hear the stories.
Hmm.
So I appreciate that. And to all our listeners, if you enjoyed this chat, there are many more to come. So make sure to hit follow or subscribe on YouTube or whatever platform you use for your podcast listening. And don't forget to check out podbean.com/CGG if you have your own podcast or if you're thinking about starting one. I'll leave a link for that in the episode description, as well as links to connect with Lisa and hear music from her band, the Josties. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next episode. And until then, happy strumming.